Third Eye Thinkers. I'm your host, Michelle Welch.
Hi, I'm your host, Megan Benanti. Thank you all for joining us. Sorry we're running a little behind the 8 ball tonight, but that's the way life rolls out when you're coming out of Mercury retrograde, right?
Right, and when your hair gets like caught on fire almost by a flame torch blow dryer, which is what happened to me tonight. So I'm here, so I'm just happy to be here.
She had a drama dryer. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yes. Oh, wow. So we're here and we're happy to be here. And thank you guys for joining us. We're excited about our topic tonight.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about the Mandela Effect. And I thought this was such an interesting third eye idea that Michelle had come up with. And I'm excited to kind of go into this.
It was really interesting because my daughter Tanner actually was talking about it, and it's not. And I thought, wow, what is that? And it's not that it's a new thing. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you guys all know about it, but it was something that was fairly new to me, and so it was interesting. And I thought, let's do a show on it, and Megan was down with it. So here we go.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So for those of you that are like, what the heck is the Mandela Effect? Don't worry, you're not alone, because some of us were like that as well. I was with Michelle on that one. So many people remember Mandela, who had been the president of South Africa. And there was this belief that he had died in prison in the 1980s, when in actuality, he was released in 1990 and didn't die until 2013.
Right.
And so this woman, Fiona Broom, had done some studies when she realized that, she thought that she remembered him dying in prison and realized other people thought that. And so she was like, okay, this is strange. We all have this connected belief system. Mm-hmm. So where is this born from? And that was the birth of the Mandela Effect as a term.
Yeah, it's really interesting because what was her name? Fiona or something? Broom.
Yeah, Fiona Broom.
And it was interesting. She was I watched her. She actually has a website. It's the MandelaEffect.com or something like that. Mm-hmm. So I want to give credit to that. And it was actually, I think, around 2009, and they were at this thing called Dragon Con. And she said there was this green room that they would always kind of talk and start talking about kind of interesting, crazy things.
Yeah.
And it came up, and she was like, well, no, he died. And they were like, yeah, he died. And the other people were like, no, he didn't. And other people were sure that, Nelson Mandela, the, president of South Africa, he had died in prison. And so like Megan said, of course he hadn't, and he had lived in 2013. And so she started doing this, and she thought, Megan, as you kind of alluded to, she thought that she was interested in this effect or whatever they called it. She said, I don't really remember if I came up with the term or if somebody else came up with the term, but within that group, someone did. Okay. Now, this psychologist, now she thinks it's sort of a multi-dimensional type of thing, multi-universe, parallel universe type thing, right?
And that we're stepping into that.
Right, and so, but then it seemed like other people, doctors, will call it this thing called confabulation. Now, I'm going to have to be honest, I had to look that up. Okay.
That's okay.
So I had to look that up. And that's what they call honest lying. It's where you fill in the gaps with things. When you don't have a perfect memory, you're going to fill in the gaps with what you think might have happened.
Right.
And so a lot of people do that, and then they call it honest lying because you have no intention to be dishonest. So
right.
That's a confabulation, in case you didn't know, like me, because I didn't. But I do know about this thing about people having memories that a lot of people will remember something the same way, even though it's not that way, because as an attorney, I would see that in court a lot, because you couldn't really trust the memories of witnesses a lot of times, because they would be sure. Definitely, I am positive, and they're not lying.
Right.
And then you're going to be like, oh, but when you said in this case, it was this, and you're trying to discredit them and act like they're lying. They're really not, I don't think. They might be at times, but they're filling in that memory. So that confabulation now makes sense to me.
Yeah, totally. And that's one of the areas where it comes up is with witnesses. So she had described it as alternate realities, and she was is a paranormal consultant anyway. Right. So that totally went in her direction. Mm-hmm. And different people, there's nothing scientifically that we can prove that. So that's where that kind of came into question. the idea of the false memories or the confabulation came in as kind of the neuroscience explanation. And, their thought on that was like our brain stores in different compartments. And so, say, if you think about Alexander Hamilton, for example, okay, so he's a founding father in the United States. Well, that memory is stored in the area of the brain that's near where we stored when we had to memorize all the presidents in school. And so, some people might connect that gap and go, oh, he must have been a president. And so that's where that ties into that connection. One of the things I was, kind of learning about too is confabulation happens more the older we get as well. So we fill in these gaps more in our memories. And I found that particularly interesting because we define who we are based on our past. And so how many gaps have we filled in with our past? And one of the things I resolved a few years ago with myself is one, I don't know necessarily everything that happened to me, and I know that or didn't happen to me. My memories, although they are my memories, they might not all be accurate. And so that has left me with some room to know that whether things happened or didn't happen, I chose to live a life based on the belief that they did. And so that affected my outcome. And now that I've given myself the freedom that, it did or it didn't, but at this point it doesn't really matter because I'm living in the present.
That's when people will start talking about our stories. And I used to kind of fight against that. I'd be like, well, they are our stories, though. So why, people will say, well, that's just your story. And I'm like, yeah, well, it is my story. And I didn't really understand why they'd say, now, step outside your story and look at it from a different angle or a different perspective. If you've ever heard people say that, psychologists will say that, a lot of people that are life coaches will say those sorts of things. And I really would butt heads against that and be like, but that is my story. That is what happened to me. These are my stories. And I'm sticking to it. And so even if it was a confabulation or not, they would tell you, step outside of that, to look at it from a different perspective. So it is interesting. And I do think, like we were talking about with Dr. Lancaster, right? Is how she said to pronounce it, Lori?
Lancashire.
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 Yes.
Lancashire.
I always add the extra N in there.
Yeah.
See, that's a confabulation right there.
There it is. So we were talking a little bit, or I mentioned, and I think she concurred, that children sometimes will fill in the blanks also. So I think they probably have some confabulation. When they don't know something, they'll fill in. And also it's interesting you said that, a lot of times we look at pictures, and those are our memories. So that's kind of a different subject. But that is that's our memory. It's not really that we remember something. We just remember seeing the picture and being told the story of it.
Right, and that triggers another type of memory recollection. And then we think we hear that story, even though, or we remember that as our story, but we don't necessarily know that as our story. In fact, like me cutting my hair off had a lot to do with a photograph I saw of my mom serving me my first birthday cake, and it was coconut cake. Well, I have forever believed that I love coconut cake, and I had no reason. I mean, I was 1 year old. Why would I remember that cake, Right. And this was, at the time, she had a wig that was this haircut, and so, I wanted to mimic that.
Yeah, I love it. So, she showed it to me, and I was like, and said, this is my mom's haircut. And I was like, do it, yes, and I love it. Another thing that they call it is, of course, the collective false memories. So that's another term they'll put to the Mandela Effect is we have collective false memories, and they're not sure really. No one can really say why we have those. That there are a lot of people who will end up thinking the same thing. So the Mandela Effect is when a lot of people, so it's one of the things to think about is the people know with certainty that they believe 100% it's true. Some of the examples we're going to give you, I know for fact, I know it. I mean, I cannot believe that was not spelled that way. Some of these examples, I'm just like, are you kidding me? I knew that this was that way. And also it's the certainty and the consistency of the people and the numbers of people who believe it. It's consistency of what they believe, and that a lot of people, the collective numbers of people who believe it. So that kind of will make it fall within that Mandela effect, or this collective, what do they call it? This collective false memories. So that's kind of what the Mandela effect is, and it's interesting.
Yeah. Another subject they were kind of bringing up with this, and it all sort of falls into this, is something called priming or suggestibility or presupposition. And this is part of the ways, like in a trial, that a lawyer can manipulate a witness into saying something they want them to say. And it can be as simple as switching, is saying, did you see a stop sign, or did you see the stop sign? And so that totally changes how a person will respond to a situation. And so that's really kind of interesting when we think about that. And as a reader too, when we're talking to our clients and we're asking questions or we're going in a direction, it also made me really think how things are presented to the people that we read for, and how they provide information to us as well. And so it I don't know, it just opened up a lot of interesting things out of Pandora's box in my mind.
I agree with you. Yeah. It's very interesting to how we perceive things. So do you have more to add on that? Do you want to go to some examples? Or
yeah, let's go to some examples. Although I will say, it's interesting. I liked, what was her name? Fiona Broom's idea on alternate realities. Now, I know that's probably the least probable, but I am just glad to say that someone's thinking outside of the box. And thank you, Fiona, for going in that
I don't think
direction.
it's the least probable.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know, but third eye thinking. I don't know. Because with the way things are going now, I mean, who's to say? Really? I mean, come on. I believe in alternate realities.
Well, and I do too, but with these, I guess it's basic enough. And when I look at the discrepancies in these things, that didn't seem to trigger for me alternate realities.
That I will agree with.
Okay.
That I will agree with.
But I certainly believe in alternate realities.
Yeah. So I wouldn't think that would fit. It wouldn't be immediately what I would think of, that this is alternate reality stuff.
Right.
But it's interesting when we're thinking of it. I mean, I don't think that this is, in one reality, they called it Fruit Loops spelled this way. In another reality, they called it Fruit Loops spelled this way. It's something with our brains.
Yeah.
That we see things differently. I do that every time with this microphone. But we see things differently, So I don't think it's I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's right. I think it might be fun.
Oh yeah, totally.
We will take turns, and we can have Matt play along if he's willing.
Oh,
Yeah?
okay. Matt's along
Matt
for the
play along?
ride.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and we'll just take turns. You want to go first with the first one?
Sure. So these are some that we looked at that were kind of common, and I know some of our resources. I looked at healthline.com, and there was also goodhousekeeping.com. So she and Michelle and I can tell we crossed paths on some of the things we were researching here.
There's one on, and I will get the site for this. There was one that was the one we used most because there's a lot of them we combined together. 50 of the top Mandela effects. I Googled it, and I will find that source for you. I should have written it down. They all sort of started overlapping, to be honest with you. It seems like they all took them from each other. So I will get that site for you. There's one that had 50 of them. So.
Well, I think that was one of these.
Yeah, we're not going to do 50, but we're going to do as many of the interesting ones as we can. But
okay.
Right.
So is it Jif or Jiffy?
This is the peanut butter, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I think, if you had just asked me, is it Jif or Jiffy, I would have said Jiffy. But when I think about the logo, I know it's 3 colors, and I think there's a letter in each color.
Right.
So I think it's Jif.
Excellent.
Ding, 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 ding. That is correct.
And, and that came from because there was Skippy peanut butter. So people go to Jiffy.
Yeah.
But it was,
And Skippy just didn't hold up. I just want to say. Skippy just
I don't
didn't do
remember
it for me.
trying
No. I mean, who brings home Skippy?
it.
I don't even think I've like Jif. No, it is Jif.
Yeah, we always bought Jif
Yeah, it was
growing up,
always
but
Jif.
now I've transitioned into the natural nut butters. and
No. I
I like it all granola.
All right. So is it Berenstain, Stain, or Berenstein, Stein? And I think we've talked about, so Matt, I think you know that one. I think we all know this one.
Well, I know what people say about that one, but this was the first one I ever heard of any of this stuff. This was the first time I ever heard of that. And there are a couple on this list, or there are a couple that I know of that I would have bet literally everything on.
Right.
And this is one of them where I would have said it's Berenstein with an E.
Or Berenstain.
Or Berenstein, yeah. In fact, that's probably how I thought it was said. And I mean, this comes from reading those books as a kid over and over and over again. I loved those books. And I asked my mom, who was a librarian, I said, which was it? And she said it was with an A. So I'm going to trust her that that's true. And I know that's what it says now. But yeah, I still am not convinced that it's not with an E.
Yeah. And
That's funny.
so that is an example of the Mandela effect right there. And I'm with you because I read those over and over and over to my kids and showing my age. I'm not sure I read them, but I read them over and over and over to all three of my kids. And I thought it was AIN. And it's not. It's EIN. Just
Oh,
for you
no,
listening.
no. It's
it's
AI.
Excuse me, I just said it the wrong way.
Yeah.
It is AIN. I thought it was EIN. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would even say Berenstein Bears to my kids when I read it.
Well, so I was such a poor
See,
reader
I-
that I had to sound everything out. So I was very familiar with it being AI. But I was telling my husband, I was like, yeah, they're not Jewish. And he said, yeah, the bears getting a brisk is probably not a good thing.
Yeah. But you know what? That's an example of the Mandela effect. I just tried to say it. I have it right in front of me, the correct answer, and I still said it wrong.
That's okay.
I mean, no, it's interesting to me that is how drilled into my head it is, that the wrong answer. Because I am sure that it is, like you, Matt, I am
Yeah.
sure that it's the other way because I
Yeah.
read those things over and over and over again. Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, sure. Is it Oscar Mayer or Oscar Mayer? Anybody?
I think so. That this is a difference of Meyer or Mayer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Is it an E or an A?
I think it's with. Gosh, I'm trying to remember the song now. Right?
Yeah.
Because that was the my
And
baloney has a name.
O-S-C-A-R.
Yeah.
Maloney has a first name. It's O-S-C-A-R.
Oh, yeah, I remember that song.
I guess it's with an A then, right? Because I think that's what the song
Yeah,
says. Yeah.
M-A-Y-E.
Yeah.
It's M-E.
E?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
No, it's M.
Am I answering them wrong?
Yes, you're getting them wrong.
Are you sure?
Because I thought
Are
for
you sure?
I always
Are you
say
sure?
Oscar Mayer, but it is Mayer.
Are y'all sure? With
Again.
an E. M-E-Y-E-R. Are you sure?
Yeah. 'cause
No, it's
Yeah,
M.
no, I'm looking at a picture
No, I
of
just
it
said
right
it's
now.
M-E-Y-E-R.
Yeah, but no, the actual
It's
one.
It's
an
M-A.
like May.
Yeah,
Okay, I better
M-A-Y-E-R.
give Heather Megan answer the correct answers.
Yeah.
Well,
Because I
and
even
again,
wrote it down the right answer wrong.
So
literally.
yeah.
So how does it sing it, Matt?
Well, Mayer is how the song, but I feel like everybody says Oscar Mayer.
They do.
Yeah, but it's with
But
an
it's
A.
with an
It's
A.
with an A. Okay, so I'm going to circle
That's-
that one. All right, now I do know the answer to the next one.
You sure about that?
I'm not at all. And I like to get 100s on my quizzes, and so far I'm failing this one. Okay, Sex and the City or Sex in the City?
I'm the wrong demographic for this one. I think it's in. I think it's IN. In.
I'm not answering. I'm going to look at
I always thought it was and the city.
it is and.
Okay.
And
Oh, it is?
You're correct. Aren't you?
No, it's Sex in the City.
No,
I
it's
believe.
Sex
Hold
and.
on, let me check
It's
my
Sex
notes.
and. I know I did
Yeah,
some
I'm
of
really
these
trusting
right. It's
you
Sex
now.
and because I thought it was Sex in, so it's got to be Sex and.
No. Yeah, it's Sex and the City.
I'm going to be right on the rest of these. I'm pretty smart.
Okay, yeah.
Not that y'all are going to believe that now.
This is
Okay.
difficult.
Oh,
All
I
right.
did find one that you
It's
don't.
Sex and in the City because I thought it was this whole time I thought it was Sex in the City and I watched it. So, but it's Sex and. So this Mandela effect, let me tell you, is a real thing. and I'm
It's so
somebody.
hard to break out of. Yeah.
It's so real. Yeah. You
Like
want to go?
there's one on here which I'm sure we'll get to that I still like with the Berenstain Bears. You cannot tell me that it was not this way.
Yeah. There's another one. Yeah. There's a couple
there's
on
one
here.
of them.
Do you want me to do the next one, or do you know this one?
I did know one.
Do
this
it. Go
one.
for it. Okay.
So, Queen, we love them. And you know when we were singing, "We are the champions,"
Yeah.
and everybody goes, "Of the world."
At the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that really happen or not?
Is that at the end of the song? Yes or no?
I mean, they do say it in the song at some point, right?
At some point.
I don't think it's at the end though. I don't think it's at the very end.
Correct.
That is correct. Yeah, it's not there.
Correct.
Yeah.
But everybody finishes it that way.
Right.
Yeah.
It ends. No time for losers, because we are the champions. That's it. End of.
Okay. You did that better. I shouldn't have broke out in song. I'm really
No,
sorry
you did it
about
much
that.
better. I want you
I
to sing.
don't know
I
why I
want. I
did
want you
that.
to sing the Oscar Mayer song. So
I can't remember it that well.
my baloney has a first name. It's Oscar. My baloney has a second name. It's
Ayer.
Mayer. Oh, I like to eat it every day, and this
If you
is
ask
like
me why, I'll say, because Oscar Mayer has a way of
BOLOGNA.
DNA.
There you go. Now we know. All right. That's worth the show.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. God, you're just like taking me a flashback there.
Now, I did do the Pokemon things with the kids, but I didn't remember this one, and I didn't have an opinion one way or the other. But Roger knew this one. Pikachu. Is Pikachu all yellow, or is he black and yellow?
Yeah, specifically with his tail. Is it black and
Yeah.
yellow, or is it just yellow? you know this one?
I think.
You cheated.
Oh yeah. There's an image.
There you go, folks.
There you go.
But I'm trying to think. I would have said he had black on his tail.
Because a lot of
But
people
apparently he
think that.
doesn't.
Yeah, I thought he had
There is
black
like
on
a
his
dark
tail.
space on his tail, I guess. Usually when he's drawn,
No.
No.
like kind of. I thought it was a different color, like towards the
Yeah.
not the end, but at the like where the tail starts.
Oh.
But maybe it's just like a shadow or something that there's sometimes there. I'm not really sure.
So
I've
his-
never really seen him in motion, but yeah, I thought he had a black tip on his tail, but I don't pay a lot of attention to that.
So he's all yellow.
I swear I have like a little Pikachu stuffed animal that the dogs play with. And I swear it's got a black tip on the tail.
You're going to have
Well,
to bring
I mean,
evidence
look
of
at
that.
it, yeah.
Exhibit A
Yeah.
next week.
But it would also be likely improperly made because that's
It's
part of
knockoff.
the
It's probably
Mandela
knockoff,
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Knockoff. Yeah. No, and we've talked about that, though. So that was the thing I wondered on the Fruit of the Loom. Because
Uh-huh.
we'll skip to that one.
Yeah.
So on Fruit of the Loom, you want to do that? I wondered if that was because of knockoffs. But who would knock off underwear?
A lot of people knock off underwear,
But
but
Fruit of the Loom underwear?
yeah.
But
so does Fruit of the Loom is it just fruit or is it fruit and a cornucopia? And that's how we kind of got down this path initially, which is kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the other one that I was talking about, where you could not have. I would put all my money on the fact that it had a cornucopia in the logo. Like I would have sworn it did, and this came up about a month ago or something when I first saw it, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that what they say is that it does not have one.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I never really thought about that name either, but it's so well fitting because it's, you know, a loom is to weave and you got your fruit in your woven undies there. So
That's deep thinking. Man, that's some cheap ass
I just
underwear
went
there.
right there. I went there. That's okay.
Oh, man, that's good.
I've got you sent a picture here.
You want to show that?
These are some other ones here. Well, so these are supposedly not real. Which a couple of these, I mean, there's the Jiffy right there.
Yep.
We didn't talk about the Fruit Loops, but there's
That's on there. Well, we go ahead and
Yeah.
talk about it. So that's not real because
It's spelled with two O's. Fruit is
Yeah.
spelled with two O's.
And I think that's really interesting because one, it's to be cute, but true, there's no real fruit in Fruit Loops. So,
Right.
Yeah.
you know, that covers them from giving out misinformation.
false advertising.
And this Febreze, I don't know what's wrong with this. I really don't. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't see what the What's
It's
the
a
problem?
misspell.
It's a misspell.
It only has, it's Febrezee.
There's no 2 E's there.
Yeah, it's not a double E. There's only 3
Oh.
E's instead of 4.
Anyway, the fruit of the loom, spelled fruit R-U-I-T. That is correct. But yeah, that looks right to me. That looks correct to me.
It does to me too.
I can't see it any other way.
That's so
Yeah.
funny. Yeah,
It's-
no,
yeah.
it totally makes sense to me.
Yeah.
And part of the reason would be, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, but hey, I'm psychic. That's what I
Yeah.
do.
Go ahead.
The brown of the cornucopia is not something I want to see in my underwear. You know, you
That's
want to
fair.
have your fruit in your undies, but you don't want anything brown in there.
Well, that would be a good advertiser. I think good marketing would be to
Yeah,
keep that
so you wanna keep your
cornucopia out
brown
there.
cornucopia
Because that
out
is
of your
a
undie
big
logo.
piece of brown in there. You would not want.
Sorry.
You want it, and so this next one that Megan's going to read is interesting because it's not just pictures; it's things we hear.
Yeah, and this is a big one in my family that the words were tossed around. Luke, I am your father. Or is it just, no, I am your father? And that was interesting to me.
Do you know, Matt?
I do know. And this is one I've heard a lot. And I think that this is just one that some of these just get misquoted.
Yeah.
And you just hear the misquote over and over again. But it's the second one. He does not say the word Luke
Correct.
in that quote.
Well, the next one I would have sworn, again, it may be a misquote, but it may be the Mandela Effect. I love Forrest Gump, and so it's one of my favorite movies, and I would think, and also probably a Mandela Effect is that Forrest Gump is real. And I would like it if he was real too. So life was like a box of chocolates, or life is like a box of chocolates. So was or is.
Well, every spoiler alert out there, because we always write life is like a box of chocolates, but it actually is past tense. It was. So,
Yeah. So again, could be misquoted over and over, but he always was talking about like kind of past tense in the movie.
mm-hmm.
He was kind of narrating through it. So it's was.
That one I understand because was and is sound very similar.
And the
way and the way he talks, he's got an accent in that. So I could see just not quite catching that.
Yeah. Do you want to do the next one? I thought the next one was interesting.
You know what? So the next one, in the car with JFK, were there 4 people or 6 people? And I didn't even run across this one, so that's interesting.
Yeah, but this was the assassination attempt. Not attempt.
I'm
the
sorry, I
assassination.
just assumed.
Yeah, no, I know. That's well, I guess everybody would assume, but sorry.
No, you should explain it. That was
but,
not good of me.
So was it 4 or were there 4 people in the car, or were there 6 people in the car?
There were 6.
Correct.
6 people.
Would most people, and the reason I think most people have that is the way the video was shot, and the angles and all that. But there was the driver, the governor, his wife, President, Jackie O, and then the Secret Service man. So there was 6 people in the car.
Yeah,
So,
and the reason I know because I know Governor Connolly was in the car,
Right.
and he's not driving,
right, and his wife was
and
with
his wife is not
Yeah,
driving.
right.
So there's got to be somebody else there.
good.
Yeah.
Good logic. Yeah.
All right, you got the next one?
Yeah, you want to? This one was. We might want to just say this one. Double stuff Oreo. I found this interesting because I would have thought it'd be 2 F's for double stuff.
Yeah.
I just would assume it, and it's 1 F.
I know, isn't that crazy? So like, what is the stuff in an Oreo? Now you got to wonder
Can
if
they
they're
not
spelled.
legally call it? They can't even
I would
call
think
it
it-
stuff.
I think it must have just been a reason legally, and I mean now you just got a 1 F stuff, and I'm thinking then when you get those double stuff, when you get the double thick ones,
Uh-huh.
you know what I'm talking about? Do they get 2 F's? Maybe they should get 2 F's.
This is double stuff.
Oh, the double stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, that makes no sense. Like, that's just a typo.
Well, and like,
Somebody
yeah,
else
if you're
said
gonna
that's a
put your
trademark
stuff in there,
thing.
wouldn't you have enough stuff to have two F's?
Yeah, I have to think it's a trademark.
I
thing,
have to
right?
think
I
it's-
have to think that
yeah.
they could.
Okay, yeah.
So the
have
next
to spell
one,
it
you
weird.
want to do it? Roger missed the next one, so I just have to say he did.
Okay, are we looking at Smokey the Bear or are we looking at Smokey Bear?
I learned this one a while back.
Oh, did you?
I
Okay.
did, but I thought the wrong way for a long time. I think most people do. I think most people think it's
I
Smokey
knew
the Bear.
this one.
Oh, okay. I thought it had a the in there, but it
Yeah.
actually doesn't. Smokey Bear. So like,
I actually knew this one, but that's probably because I'm East Texas, and everybody probably thought it was proper to say the, and I just probably said Smokey Bear, and I got it right.
all right, there you go.
Yeah, right? Roger thought it was, so y'all all thought it was Smokey the Bear. So most people do. That is a Mandela effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember commercials when I was a kid. They would be right after the cigarette commercials. Then you'd have Smokey the Bear or Smokey Bear commercials. So about
thought
forest fires.
I'm going to skip that next one. Well, Kit Kat with a hyphen or not, it's spelled all together. There's no hyphen. But I thought this chartreuse, that learning, the way you learn something can be a Mandela effect too. I thought this
Yeah.
was very interesting. I don't know if there's anybody, I learned it to be green or yellow, but the color chartreuse, there are people who were taught and they learn and they're convinced that is a pink magenta color. It's not how they see it, it's how they learn or are taught. That they're taught chartreuse is a pink magenta as opposed to a green yellow.
I always knew it to be a green color because, and it might be kind of our age group because chartreuse was a color in fashion even when I was young, and so it's still prominent nowadays. Plus, there was a beverage called green chartreuse that you would add to cocktails and that kind of thing. It was kind of grossly sweet, but
Yeah.
I think that differentiated that nowadays more. So this might have been an older
thing.
pattern. However, with that, I also considered colorblind people, which are only
Yeah.
men, but they're not going to know the difference between pink, magenta, green, or chartreuse anyway.
True.
So, if they're colorblind in that way, the red, green.
I like the risky business one. You want to do that one?
Oh, I didn't know this one. Okay, risky business. Tom Cruise is wearing what?
In his famous song, what is he wearing?
This is when he's dancing in the
Yeah.
in the house.
He slides out and he's singing.
Well, it's a T-shirt and underwear, perhaps for the loom.
Tidy whities.
I like it.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Maybe sunglasses? I don't know.
So what do you think? Sunglasses or no sunglasses?
I would say yes, but I also think the poster has him wearing sunglasses, so maybe that's where I'm getting that. But I would have thought yes. He is wearing sunglasses.
I would have thought part of it he had on sunglasses, but I remember he actually wore like a men's shirt, like a collared shirt.
Correct. This is really, really cute. I'll say it that way.
Yeah, I mean that was the heartthrob moment for so many of us at that time.
Oh, you mean like a button-up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm picturing an undershirt.
No,
Yeah,
it,
no,
wasn't. It was a
wasn't
button
an
up.
undershirt. Yeah.
But
But
the
that's right,
cat,
that's
but
right.
the Mandela effect is, and that might be one too. But the Mandela effect is
That he wore sunglasses
that he wore sunglasses and he did not. There were no sunglasses.
in that scene. Interesting.
There were no sunglasses.
But that was
in that
also
scene.
the time when the song "I Wear My Sunglasses at Night" came out, and we all wore Ray-Bans then, and that was big in that
Big
movie.
thing. Yeah,
So I think he wore sunglasses at some point in that
at some
movie.
point, but not in that scene.
Okay.
So when they would
Interesting.
and then people will repeat that, and they'll even dress up like that scene, in Halloween costumes and things, and they would wear those glasses, and he wasn't wearing.
Well, it's cooler to wear glasses.
Oh,
anyway.
much, yeah.
Oh, totally.
Let's see.
Oh, this was my favorite.
Okay, go for it.
C-3PO is all gold. Bing, bing, bing. This was a shocker, and I probably was for y'all too. Because every costume in the world has C-3PO in gold. He actually has a silver leg, and it's from like his knee down. The right leg is
Right
silver.
leg.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I would have thought all gold.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? I never even noticed that in the movie.
Yeah.
So, that one I was like, I felt
It's
like
true. I'm gonna say I did, but that's just because I've always been like, I think it was Reese, like I was talking to Roger about it. I've been very fascinated by that character. I don't know why. I think I was fascinated because I didn't get why he was interesting, and he kind of got on my nerves. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, now I kind of get why he's interesting a little bit. Yeah.
I loved R2D2.
Me
that
too.
was my connection, but
Yeah.
not C3PO.
And I like that new little thing, the little Baby Yoda thing.
But he's not in the movie.
I know, but
That's going to be a Mandela effect. I guarantee.
I know
it.
he's not in the movie, but I do like that little whatever he is, the little Baby Yoda. Is he baby? Is he? That'll be Mandela Effect. Is
Yeah,
he
totally.
the child or is he Baby Yoda?
Yeah, his official name is the child.
Oh, so he's the child. See, already.
Like
I'm-
Yoda had a baby with someone. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, it's just he's not Yoda. It's not the character Yoda,
Okay.
but he is of the same
Origin.
race.
Species.
Right?
Yeah.
Species.
Species.
Yeah.
So he's not really Baby Yoda.
Okay, so there's a whole Mandela effect that's going to be developing
Yeah.
right out of it, or has been developing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
So this was interesting. Back to the old cartoon days.
Oh,
Well,
yeah,
we
okay.
won't skip. So Curious George and Roger said he had one of these monkeys, and he was surprised I didn't. I did not have a Curious George.
I loved the
neglected.
books. I didn't have a monkey, but I love the books.
So did you know this one?
I did.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
So did you? Tail or no tail, Matt?
Curious George.
Yeah.
I would just assume tail, right?
No.
I would
no.
assume that too. No,
Yeah.
he did not have a tail.
I think me being artsy, I had always noticed that because actually I found it to be unusual that he didn't have a tail as a child. So I did recognize that early on that he didn't.
I didn't like the books.
Oh.
I'm going to be honest. I just didn't get them. I didn't like them. I didn't read them. Didn't read them to my kids. I just didn't like them.
The Man with the Yellow Hat. I don't
Sorry.
think I read them to my kids.
They kind of
but,
creeped me out. I don't know. I just didn't like them. Sorry. I didn't really care if he had a tail or not.
Can I just point out? I'm looking at the Wikipedia for C3PO, and he's got 2 gold legs in this, but other pictures show him with the silver leg.
Interesting.
Wikipedia, incorrect.
So
Well,
bizarre.
and all the Halloween costumes, too, are also going to be incorrect. So that was a big misnomer that people really missed on.
Yeah.
So,
Big Mandela Effect.
Wow.
And now it's just incorrect,
mhm.
right? I mean, now we're all going to be watching our Star Wars again.
I know you're kind of making me want to, I got to confess.
Right. Lord of the Rings, for the Lord of the Rings people, Gandalf says either run, you fools, or does he say fly, you fools? Do you know that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So you
he
know.
says fly.
He says fly.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think, and they repeat, run, you fools, and they're incorrect. It's fly, you fools.
Well, I don't really fully remember that in the movie because it's been a while. However, I was like, he's a wizard. Of course he would say fly.
To me-
because isn't that what we would do? We'd
That's,
fly.
That's
yeah.
what I would think. I think
It's
that's
magical.
common sense. Why wouldn't you fly? So, fly. That one I can get. All right. Do you want to do one of them?
Yeah, so here's a good one for people that probably a lot of you don't know, and I think I might have run across this somewhere. Oh, I know, you know what? I've run across this in the newer version of Snow White. And because it was much more clear to me than what I remember from childhood. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Is that the way that goes? Matt, do you know?
I mean, that's the way I've always heard it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's actually magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. And in the newer movie, I remember Charlize Theron saying that, and I was like, well, she changed the lines. But apparently, I was wrong.
Mandela Effect.
Yep.
And Charlize gets nothing wrong. So, right? And
Oh my God, she's so
perfect.
fabulous. There's a new movie on Netflix with her, or Amazon Prime. I can't remember which one. It's really good. I highly recommend it.
She's awesome.
It's called The Old Guard.
Hmm.
I recommend it. Yeah,
I'll have to
very
watch
good.
it. Yeah, I think she's awesome. So, Flintstones or Flintstones? stones.
I was surprised I had this wrong because I was a big Flintstones
Me
junkie.
too.
But what about you, Matt? What do you think it is?
I think it's with a T, right?
It
Flint?
is.
It is. Which makes sense because flint. You know, flint is fire. I get.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's where they get that from, right? Flint stones. But
Yeah, prehistoric people. But I totally had no idea there was an extra T in there or a T in there.
And I don't think I ever thought about how to spell it. I just know I always mispronounced it. I said Flintstones. I didn't say that T. I said Flintstones.
Yeah, I think we all
Yeah.
did.
But it didn't. But it makes sense that it would be Flintstones, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally.
So they're
Now-
interesting. Go ahead.
You had the Gremlins one on here, and I had no idea in this. It's the villain Spike or Stripe. What do you think?
I didn't remember this from the Gremlins because I actually had a dog in law school that was named after what was the other character? Not Gizmo.
Gizmo, yeah.
And
the
so
cutie.
Gizmo, I didn't remember the villain, the dog. So I didn't really. Did you know this, Matt? Whether it was Spike
I thought
or
it was
Stripe?
Spike, right? Is that
I
not-
thought it was Spike too. Is it Stripe?
It's Stripe,
Stripe. Oh,
Interesting.
which you know
Yeah.
kind of makes sense because it wouldn't be interesting if it was Spike because everybody think it. But no, it was Stripe.
Well, no, but he had like I want to say
Yeah,
I think he had a
Stripe, right.
mohawk too,
So that'd
but
be,
it was
that
like,
would make sense then.
yeah.
Call him Stripe, kind of.
But I think that's where we picked it up from.
Yeah,
So,
but it is Stripe. And then when we skipped, I love Mr. Rogers, and it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, or it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
I think it's the neighborhood.
It's this.
this neighborhood.
Are you really?
I'm
Yeah,
really, I promise.
in this
I
neighborhood.
promise. And I even noticed it in the movie. I watched it on the plane to Portland
Oh.
that Tom Hanks is in, and I was like, he's saying that wrong. Because he makes it very clear. He says this neighborhood, and I was like, I got that wrong. Just like you thought, Shirley.
Wow.
You said change. I was like, in this neighborhood,
Yeah.
and he says this, and
That's
it's
interesting.
this neighborhood. Yeah.
So I found a few on here that you guys that weren't on your list.
Oh, sorry.
Skechers. We all, you know, the girls' brand Skechers. Is there a T or a no T?
I saw that one, and I thought, well, that's spelling, and I can't.
First
I don't
of all,
think there
I
is
didn't know
one.
that was a girl's brand because I think those.
Oh, it is?
those are kinda-
Oh, is that called?
Yeah.
Oh,
Matt and Roger are like, wait a second.
All right, hold on. Do I need to?
it was a unisex. I guess it is a unisex
Yeah.
brand, but I always think of it being promoted to girls so
Okay,
much
okay.
in elementary school. So sorry about that, guys.
They've branched out. T or no T?
No, I think it started as boys.
I say
actually.
no T.
I don't think it has a T because
Yeah,
it's not
it's a no
like
T.
yeah, it's not like sketch like a drawing.
Right.
But a lot of people do
Right,
put
yeah.
that T in there.
One of my favorite ones too was okay, but you guys didn't know this. Rich Uncle Pennybags. That is the name of the little guy in Monopoly.
We have a
So,
picture of this one. if you wanna
Does he
show it.
have a monocle or no monocle?
I think we have a photo.
We do.
If
One
we can
second.
get it really
Go,
fast.
Maddie, go.
So there we go. That's a
Mm,
false memory. He does not.
That's correct. He wears no monocle. So, but I thought it was interesting. He had a name, Rich Uncle Pennybags.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cute.
I guess who does? I guess Mr. Peanut has a monocle, right?
Oh yes, it is
Yeah,
Mr. Peanut.
so they're mixing
Mhm.
them together.
So maybe because
Yeah.
they both wear top hats or.
What other pictures do we have while Megan's looking at her notes?
Let's see here. Well, you've got the Sex and the City. We talked about that. We talked about that one. This one, okay.
Well,
So what we're
Which
showing
one?
for those listening is
Yeah,
Target.
Target.
The
So
three.
there's 3 versions of this logo. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's the left one, right?
I think it's the left
The
one.
simplified one.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Oh, thank
Okay.
It
goodness.
is, and that gives me a headache just looking at it. That's
Gotta
probably
get my
what-
shopping right.
So that was 3 versions of Target with the spirals, and it's the simplest, like most bold red, like 2 circles, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, like a circle and a dot in the
Yeah.
middle. Yeah.
A third eye.
Of course.
That's it. I think we covered all the rest of them.
Yeah.
I have pictures for.
So, and the other ones I found were more about like dates and people, like Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, it'd be interesting. What
Um,
is it?
so, his first Oscar was actually in 2016, but people thought he got it way before that because he was nominated 5 times
Oh.
prior. So, but it did take him a while to get one when we thought he probably would have gotten it back in Titanic.
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze,
I saw that.
a lot of people thought that he recovered from pancreatic cancer, but that's
Oh.
actually is what killed him.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of those where the people, they think they're alive, but they're not. And
Yeah.
so they'll kind of like the Mandela effect, right? Or they
Mhm.
think they died and they really didn't die. And so, and that gets, I don't know if that's a rumor or, something getting so repeated. That's where it's interesting to know. But I think the Mandela effect is, like I said, when you're sure, like Matt, when you said, I am positive, I
Right.
would bet everything I have
Right.
that you will not convince me otherwise, that that person died. They're dead. I know it 100%.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of people, and the consistency with people say it. That's when it gets to be called this Mandela effect. I find it fascinating, really.
Yeah, I do too. The more I researched on this, the more interesting it became to me. And especially when I look at so many things that we think or believe in our lives, it just kind of throws things out the window in
Well,
some regards too.
And I like how you said, and so maybe to wrap it up since we're a little bit over, but how you said, we can tie it back to our own lives, not just the interesting thing of it, but, when we're looking at either we're doing readings for what we do, or if we're getting readings or giving readings, but also just everything in our life. When we're certain of something that happened, I like what you said about our childhood or even things that are going on in our lives, to, take another look at that and to, and tying it back in, like I said, to those stories.
Right.
I mean, I think certainty is a good thing, but I also think it's interesting that ties into the Fiona Brooms, kind of that, I don't know, certainty can be fluid too.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. It's interesting to me. And
It-
for us to, and I did find that out as an attorney trying cases, especially in criminal, like eyewitness stuff. You will be sure that they had on a purple shirt. And so many people will be so sure of that. And then it will for sure not be, you'll play it back and it won't be a purple shirt. It'll be they may not even have on a shirt. But they'll be 100% sure of that. It's like we convince ourselves. And I like how you said the parts of our brain where we store stuff. It's very interesting.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
social media, of course, and is making, all of this a bigger deal now. So, and it's happening more quickly.
And how we think. It's interesting. And I think it's not just, it doesn't belong just to the psychologist or the psychiatrist or the neuroscientist or to the psychologist. I think it belongs to everybody, to all of us, the third eye thinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So I think it's cool.
well, thanks for joining us, everyone. This was fun
Yeah.
today, doing our third eye thinking about the Mandela Effect. And we'll be here again next week at 7:30. If you enjoyed the show, please feel free to give us comments below and let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe on any of the channels that we're available on. All right, thanks, everyone.
Good night.